Okay, in our next section, we're going to have, I think we have 4 presenting companies. They all have like a 5 to 7 minute presentation, I believe, for this section. What else do we need to? Yeah, not 10, definitely not 10. Look at these guys, entrepreneurs always pushing for more. So we should see some really interesting uses of the blockchain at the really early stage. Really excited to see what these guys have to present. With that said, I'm going to hand it over to my good friend Matthew James here.
Greetings. Good morning, everyone. So we're going to talk about ShopZing. Real quick, show of hands, how many of us know about international trade or global trade? Quick show of hands. Great, so you all will definitely probably get this. Our purpose is to be the world's most biggest centric company where businesses can effectively engage in counter trade deals of any type for goods and services worldwide. With that, what is counter trade? Counter trade is an alternative means of structuring an international sale when conventional means of payment are difficult, costly, or non-existent. It's a $30 trillion market. 25 to 30% of gross world product is counter trade, and it's 60% or higher in emerging and frontier markets. It's internationally recognized by the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law. So when do I counter trade? Businesses typically counter trade when there's a shortage of convertible currency, when there's liquidity problems, or if they want to develop new markets to stimulate jobs, stimulate industry. And in the case of the US, we see that we forecast that businesses will like to balance the overseas trade. As you can see, the numbers on how the US imports and exports. So there are actually 6 different types of counter trade. I'll leave barter to talk last about, but the first type is compensation trade, which is a form of barter in which one of the flows is partly in goods and partly in currency. And we're the platform that supports the use of cryptocurrency. The second type is a counter purchase, which is a little bit more advanced. It's the sale of goods and services to one company in another country by a company that promised to make future purchases of a specific product from that same company in that country. The third will be an offset. An offset is an example of a seller of a product to be imported into a foreign country agrees to purchase parts or materials used to produce that product. So that'll help balance the trade imbalance. And of course, buyback. Buybacks is a classic example. A firm builds a plant in the country or supplies technology, equipment, training, et cetera to the country, and then agrees to take a certain percentage of the plant's output as payment. Switch trading is pretty common. It's where one company sells to another company's obligations to make a purchase in a given country. And lastly, of course, barter, which we all know of. So the key problems in international trade is being reliant upon many different intermediaries for locating, facilitating, and procurement. And this can actually decrease your profit potential or offset it entirely. Payment also is required, which may be difficult, costly, or non-existent. And most commonly, the experience of fraud, unfair deceptive trade practices, and third-party distrust. So the ideal solution is a decentralized B2B marketplace with enterprise-grade distributed ledger or blockchain for savings of time, money, and frustration during international deals, for the creation of an export opportunity where none previously existed, and for the stimulation of local and regional economies. With that, we have ShopZing. It's a decentralized marketplace, distributed ledger. We support all cryptos, and it's exclusively for counter trade deals between businesses, pure B2B. So our market validation, as I stated earlier, counter trade represents 25 to 30% of all trades. And in some emerging and frontier markets, it's 60% or more. So let's look at our market size. Big numbers. We're talking a $30 trillion total available market. The service available market, we feel, is about 15 trillion, and our share that we can tap into is about 3 trillion. So our business model, we're not selling advertisements, we're not selling personal data. What we have is we charge a nominal transaction fee, 1% fee to the buyer, 1% fee to the seller. What does this mean? We have a potential annual global revenue of $600 billion. This is a pre-existing industry. Counter trades are going on right now. We're not inventing nothing new. We don't need 12, 18 months to wait to get to onboard clients. We're ready to go now. So this is, again, there's a 2% transaction fee that's split based upon the fair market value of the goods or services being traded. So the average transaction is roughly about 100 grand. And this is based upon the letters of credit issued by banks. Banks are definitely involved in the import-export business, issuing letters of credit. So with that, our import-export businesses already engaged in counter trade as our target audience. And secondly would be our import-export businesses seeking ways to enter new markets and move more products. Our first target market will be the emerging markets, a slower economy than the developed markets. Then we're going to target the frontier markets, which is a little bit slower economy than the emerging, but represents 45% of all B2B counter trade. And then, of course, developed markets like the US, because in the process of balancing trade, as an example, if you don't have anyone to trade with, what do? So our marketing strategy will partner definitely with the Chambers of Commerce, do some social media marketing, and conferences and events like Brett's. So let's look at our competitive advantage. First would be cost. We're the first transaction-based marketplace on blockchain exclusively for B2B counter trade deals that is more cost-effective than dealing with third-party brokers. Identity, we have Alias ID, which is our blockchain-based identity solution. Our ease of use. So all trade embargoes, tariffs, it's automatically embedded for the consumer, or for the business in this case. Transfer of ownership is instant, and the counter trade agreements are actually artificial intelligence smart contracts, which we embed on the blockchain. And lastly, we have a digital judge and jury called Tribunal.ai, which will handle any disputes. And most of the disputes in international trade are typically through arbitration. So who we are, Irina comes from PayPal, Vladimir is our blockchain expert, we got advisors and partners, Brett, Virtual Growth, Eugene Kim, prominent lawyer. So we're seeking to raise $500 to $1 million, which will help us get to about 100,000 transactions, we think, within 12 months or less. With that, ShopZing, trade deals live here, and we also are preparing for an ICO.
Thank you, Matthew.
Oh, my business is right out front, too.
Yeah, come see Matthew and see all. I think most of our presenters will be around for most of the day. Next, let's welcome up Open Garden, our new friend Paul. Let's give a round of applause. Come on, let's get some. Okay, we got to get some energy here, Paul. Come on. Okay, you guys. I didn't want to bring this upon you guys, but you've done it to yourself. So anybody who's ever been to one of my events knows that at some point I'm going to make you get up and give two strangers a high five. So now is that time. Hey, Paul, I just met you. Oh! Okay. Hey guys, I just want to let you know it's okay to have some fun today, okay? We're going to learn things, we're going to meet new people, and let's have some fun. With that said, Paul, I'm going to let you take it from here.
Okay, thanks, Brett. And that was a very risky moment there. Doing a high five in front of a whole bunch of people, high risk of missing. At least for me. So I've got 7 minutes, and I'm really going to use about 3 of it to talk about our company. We've already raised our money. We did a private pre-sale. We're done. So I'm not kind of here to chill or create a lot of excitement about investing in us. If you want to talk about that, great. But we're pretty much done. We're not doing a public token sale. There's no public pre-sale. So really, I'm here to just kind of share what we're up to and share some of the things that we've done. We're in implementation mode. So the 30 seconds about us is we are trying to fundamentally change how people connect to the internet. It's not a small vision. We're trying to disrupt the $2 trillion global market for internet access. And we do it through a protocol that we've developed. We've spent a long time building this. It's a mesh protocol combined with our crypto stack. It enables anybody to share their internet access and earn cryptocurrency. This can be you sharing your home internet connection with your next door neighbor in the apartment next door or the condo above you, for a business to share their internet connection and charge for access, or even networks to try to create a crowdsourced Wi-Fi hotspot network and interoperate network to network. We took funding from Verizon because they're interested in exploring that very technology. So when people invested in us, they thought about the team that we already had. We're 15 people based in Oakland, mostly networking engineers, people from places like Samsung and Apple. I've worked for mobile operators for many years, a disgruntled operator trying to disrupt that space now. We also had a lot of interest because we have an existing community. We have over 5 million registered users for a product called FireChat that we built in 2014. We're going to airdrop tokens to them. We have an existing community ready to go. We spent over 2 years building this mesh networking technology. It's live in Google Play now. You can download the app and share your internet access today. Our token is already live on Stellar Mainnet. It's a test token. We go network launch in June, but this thing is already out there in the world. You can use it today. So these are some of the reasons we had a lot of interest in what we're doing. I mentioned I've worked for mobile operators. Most of us are networking engineers. We've been really fortunate to have some awesome advisors supporting us. You may have heard of Mick Hagan from Mainframe and some other folks that are helping us to grow in Asia. We raise money from this crew of people, including in the US, some folks like Arrington, XRP Capital, and others. But let's talk for a second about what we're doing. We're trying to build this decentralized network. Anybody, person, company, can share the internet connection. We're tokenizing bandwidth. And if you tokenize bandwidth, then you can trade it between people, between companies, and between networks. It has a lot of really cool use cases. And ultimately, what we're shooting for is for this to become completely ubiquitous. As an app on your phone, as our starting point, that's what's in Google Play. Embedded into phones, embedded into Wi-Fi access points, like the Wi-Fi we've got here. These are all ways in which our protocol can grow. It will be open sourced. It will be free. We make no money on it. When transactions happen between someone connecting to an Open Garden hotspot and someone sharing it, there's no transaction fee that we make. It's like we're trying to build a protocol for disrupting how people connect to the internet. And so that's really what we're trying to do. Now, from an implementation point of view, we can skip all this. We're live on Stellar mainnet. We chose Stellar because it's faster and cheaper than Ethereum. We initially thought about Ethereum. That's what all the cool kids were doing. And for a bunch of networking people, what do we know about blockchain? But after digging into it, we concluded that Ethereum was too expensive, too slow, not ready for prime time. Turns out Stellar is. And that could change down the road, but right now, Stellar is a fantastic choice for consumer decentralized apps. Some of the other implementation issues that we've been really focused on are, how do you programmatically distribute tokens to people? We have all kinds of cool incentives, things that you would typically use a smart contract for. Stellar doesn't use a smart contract. So we're building some of that infrastructure. We're going to open source all that and contribute it to the Stellar community if they want to use it. So the next dozens of other projects that need to programmatically distribute tokens now have a platform to do that. But that's one of the limitations of Stellar is it doesn't have a smart contract. Some of the other challenges are that if you're trying to create a massive speculative market for what you're doing, Stellar has some downsides because its token, Stellar assets, are not traded on exchanges all over the world. So if you're trying to create a ton of FOMO and set up a big Telegram channel and be listed on all these exchanges, kind of what people are doing, Stellar has some limitations there. We're not really doing any of that, so we don't really care. But